Mac Attram, the business coach, and today I have the absolute pleasure to be here in conversation with Mr. Paul Foe. He's a sales coach, global sales expert. We're going to be finding out more in a moment. Hey, Paul, thank you for jumping onto the Business Success Show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being here, Mr. Mark. Thank you. I'm very grateful.
All right, excellent. So, Paul, let's get going. So, for those who don't know Paul, and by the way, if you don't know him, you've got to jump onto his Instagram. Go and know him because he's giving so much value to everyone, regardless of who you are, every single day. Every single day, he's giving value. So, he's a global sales coach. He's a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. I said Forbes. He's going to tell us more about that in a moment. He's a TEDx speaker. He's a writer for Forbes.com as well, giving value all the time to people who will listen and pay attention. He's an expert in sales. And Paul, I want to say this. Thank you again. And tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial background. What has been the journey up to this point? Tell us. Go ahead. How did you get started? What got you started?
All right. So thank you for that question. Thank you. So context helps people understand where people are coming from.
Sure.
And so for those of our listeners who are not conversant with Africa, I started my entrepreneurship journey selling books from office to office.
My goodness.
So I was selling books and recharge card.
Okay.
So for those of you who are in the UK, use Leica, you use Virgin, you just tap your phone. In Africa, that was not how it started. You had to buy those cards and load your phones.
That's right.
So I was the guy at the base of the pyramid. When the network companies released the card, I was one of the guys at the base of the pyramid that sell it one-to-one. You can't scale that. No. That's like only $2 a day.
Wow.
That was my life as a university graduate. But I was selling those books from banks to banks and office to office. The good thing is that I used to read the books before I sell them.
Wow.
Yes. If you've ever been to Africa, if you've ever been to Nigeria before, I don't know if they do that in Ghana, you see people selling books in traffic on the road.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Good. And I always tell them that, do you read this book that you are selling? Most of them, they don't read it. I say, I used to be in your position. I'm no longer there because I used to read those books.
And that's the funny thing, isn't it? The books themselves are the gold mine, right?
Yeah, and the guy doesn't read it.
Right, there you go.
He doesn't read it. You go there 8 months later, 8 years, 1 year later, 3 years, he's still doing the same thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he has a gunpowder in his hand, but he's not using it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how my entrepreneurship journey started. And then at some point, I began to write. I've always loved writing because when I was in school, a lecturer told me, I wrote an article. The lecturer spoke into my life and said, you have a future in writing. Yeah, so I took those words very, very seriously. So I used to write a newsletter, a physical newsletter. This was before digital, right? So I used to write a physical newsletter, and I will go to small companies in the city called Port Harcourt. I'll tell them to advertise their products and their services in the newsletter, but I will distribute the newsletter for free. Of course, I got the idea from reading the book. So then what I used to do now to develop an air of traffic, I would tell some of my friends to call the companies that are advertising in the paper and say, you know what, I just saw your ad. How much is this product? So they feel as if it's getting a lot of energy and buzz. And then the CEO or the head of medical of Nigeria has what they call the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. It is a body that takes care of all the oil and gas companies. So they have hospitals. So they had a branch hospital in a city called Port Harcourt. And I think one of the leaders in that place read the newsletter. And they now said that they needed someone to give a talk on customer service. And someone else said, I just read this letter from this guy, picked it up in his supermarket, and I think we should invite this guy to give a talk.
Wow.
And as they brought me in to give that talk, I never left there 8 years later. They kept giving me jobs over and over and over and over and over again. So that is the genesis of my entrepreneurship journey. So I've never really worked for anybody.
Right.
That is it. So I always tell people, when people look at the knowledge business and sometimes laugh at speakers or trainers, say, oh, you are just teaching it, you have not lived it.
Right.
To sell it is a lot of, and I need to put that out there, because you don't need to have cancer to cure cancer. I don't think you heard me. I'm going to say that again. Absolutely. Yes, the doctor that cures a person's cancer doesn't have the cancer. You can be an expert by research. So that is my entrepreneurship journey that I've been on, and I've never looked back.
That's amazing. Straight from university. Well, as a graduate in university, selling pop-up cards.
Yes.
$2 a day. I mean, and if you don't sell, you don't eat.
That's it.
You don't eat.
That's it.
And then move on to selling books, office to office. We call that door to door. Listen, people.
Yes.
In a day, door to door sales happen.
Yes.
It was tough. And if you can survive that, you can survive
anything.
That's because what that is high level of rejection. In other words, people say no.
Yes.
Don't come here again. Why do you keep bothering us? Tell us a little bit. Tell us about rejection at an early age as an entrepreneur, and how did that shape you? Rejection or the objections that you used to get.
Funny enough, sometimes you know that humans are meaning-making machines. I was too young to interpret the rejection as people didn't like me.
Okay.
In retrospect, and that's the honest truth to God.
Right.
I didn't see it like people didn't like me.
I
just said that, if they say no today, I'll go tomorrow, I'll meet somebody else. So at the end of the day, like this is not what happens to you that matters. It's your interpretation of what happens to you that matters. I didn't see it as rejection. It was tough. God knows. It was difficult. God knows. My self-esteem was shattered. I know people that went to school, they have better jobs. I know all of that. But I was educating myself and having a good time. To me, if I had food to eat that day, that was a triumph.
Wow. There you go. There you go. You was too naive to know that it was a rejection. And you just come back.
That's right.
Coming back. Fantastic. So then you so tell us what you've been doing these days then, because I know you've got you're working with clients here in London, in the UK rather. You've been working with clients in Dubai. You've been working in clients around the world, as well as Lagos, where you started off. So tell us what that entails. What is it you do for your clients?
Okay, so for right now, I am a sales coach.
Okay.
I'm a sales trainer, and I also recruit salespeople for organizations.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's basically what I do. I help businesses, entrepreneurs, increase their sales by over 15 to 20%. And I also work with the sales teams of organization. I did sales training for one of the biggest, if not the biggest, real estate company in Nigeria for 1 year. I taught sales every week for 1 year.
Okay.
That's a lot of things. For you to teach a particular subject for 1 year, you must really love it and you must really know it.
You must really know it.
Yes, yeah. So that is what I also write books. I've written 7 books.
Congratulations.
I love to write. I've written over close to 300 articles in my own newsletter. I have a weekly newsletter called the 4 Letters that people read religiously. So I write an article every single week on that. So that's basically what I do. That's my main bread and butter.
Okay, great. So Paul, thanks for that. Now I've got some context. Now we have some context. You know, you're not just a trainer or a coach who read books and started teaching it. You actually lived it.
Yeah.
Suffered it. You went through it.
Yeah.
And you learn from the hard way.
Yeah.
Now, when you're training salespeople and entrepreneurs, you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it that way.
Yeah.
So tell us, for those people who don't like sales, I'm talking about especially a lot of our listeners are small business owners, they're entrepreneurs. And if they don't like sales, it affects cash flow.
Yes.
What can they do to start saying, hey, I can follow a process, whatever that process is, to improve the income coming into the business, so I can improve my cash flow?
So I think sometimes the reason why they don't like sales is a narrative in their head about what sales is. They look at sales as you making people buy your product. they look at sales as, people will always reject you when you look at sales. But if you look at the etymology of the word selling, actually means to serve.
To serve, yep.
Yes. Because at the end of in selling, you are actually, and the word serve means to help.
Correct.
It has utility. It means to help. Now, when you believe that you have a product that can actually help somebody, you are in love with the features and the benefits of that product, there's nobody that will tell you. You will be propelled to go out there to look for somebody that needs it. You are recording me. We're using Zoom right now. Zoom is not ashamed to tell you to buy a payment plan. They're not ashamed.
That's right.
They're not ashamed because they know that anywhere Mr. Mark is, he can record his podcast in the world. They are serving Mr. Mark. Yeah. It is utility. They're helping Mr. Mark make his dreams come true. So cannot function without Zoom.
Yeah.
So Zoom is obligated to tell a lot of people that they need this service. So I need people to start to think about it that way. That removes the shame and the negative connotation that people have about selling. Selling is actually serving. Then you need to now say to yourself, there are different methodologies to sell. There are different books on sales. And that's why I always tell people all the time, don't read 100 books. Read your best 10 books. Read them 10 times.
Right.
I believe in that. So pick because you see a lot of people, they'll go from one coach to another, one sales book to another. If you ask them, which of them have you done repetitiously? Most of them have not done it. So they don't even have a sales system.
Correct.
Yeah. So you need to figure out what has, you see, there is something called signal and noise. When you're doing your business, there's a lot of noise. But if you look where there are certain signals, the signals are the things that are working. You want to double down on those signals and bet heavily on those signals and overdo those signals. So that is my own way of looking at what sales. You find a system that works for you, over index on that system, repeat it over and over again, and remember that sales is serving. The moment you can understand that, I mean, I work with a company. They did 60 billion naira in real estate sales. I mean, I don't know what that means if you translate that. Maybe like 30 million pounds or 40 million pounds in real estate sales. So to me, I can never be ashamed to tell somebody I want to help you increase your sales because I know I can do it.
There you go.
In fact, it is a disservice to you if I don't tell you, if I don't sell myself to you, because I know that I can help you.
So, Paul, what I'm hearing you say, look, and listeners, if you have a service, if you have a product, and you are not pushing it out there and telling people it, then you are doing them a disservice. In other words, you're being selfish. You're being selfish because they then don't know that, hey, this product or service is going to help them. But the moment you say, hey, you've got this problem, I know you've got this problem, and this will help you to overcome that problem. I can help you overcome that problem. That's what we're doing. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you.
Yes.
So, and I love that. So anyone listening in, if you think, I don't like the word sales, I don't like the word selling.
Good.
Do you love the word serve?
Yes, that's right.
Do you like the word help? Like if you do, translate it to that. Then it becomes the limiting belief and the mindset around sales. Excellent. I love that. Tell us about the work you do for, you love writing. You have a podcast. You also write for Forbes. Tell us about your work as a Forbes member, coach, part of the Coaches Council.
All right. So the Forbes Coaches Council is like the council of the elite coaches in the world it's like a big network. They have their criteria to admit people in and all that. So thankfully, I became a member last year. It's been a great experience. I've written 2 articles singularly, and then I've written one with in collaboration with other people. So in total, I've done 3 articles for Forbes.com. Then I've written 7 books. My 2 best-selling books are 15 Simple to Sell Anything to Anyone and Irresistible, that I've sold over 5,000 copies. Now, this is important. I'm not saying it to boast, because the average author does not sell off 1,000 copies a year. They don't. Yes, I'm in the book business. A lot of authors don't sell a lot of their books because they don't see the book as a business. Yes, it's not a business. They just talk about it once, and that's another conversation entirely. Most authors are terrible at selling their books.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, because they write it, but I remember who said it. I think it was Robert Kiyosaki. He says,
Yeah.
I'm a best-selling author,
Not a best writer.
not a best. Yeah, exactly. Not a best writer, the best selling. So that's a distinction.
Yes.
People listening in, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, a book. Tell us about the power of having a published book.
Oh, that's so
in
powerful.
relation to marketing and sales.
It's a door opener. It's a call card. It establishes your authority. It makes you omnipotent. It makes you omnipresent. You are everywhere all at the same time. There's this. I always use this guy as a case study. James Clear wrote the book Atomic Habits. The book has sold 10 million copies as we speak. 10 million copies. Do you know that before the book came out, he went to iTunes and looked at the top 300 podcasters in the world.
All right.
He sent all of them an email to tell them, I have a book coming up around habits. It will be good for your audience, and I would like for you to interview me. Only 78 or 75 of them agreed to interview him. And that started the spiral effect of that book that you're seeing.
My goodness.
Oh, yeah. So he approached it like a marketer.
Very
now, tell me, my brother Mark, the average author will not do that. And if you tell them you need to pay for coaching to learn how to sell this book, they won't listen to you.
That's true.
It's a problem.
It is. When you do write a book and you do publish it, you have to get behind it.
Oh, yeah.
You have to push it.
Oh, yeah.
4 books.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when I wrote Face It and Fix It, the business book, which is available on Amazon. And when I put a whole energy behind it.
Yeah.
I did a whole launch. And when we launched that book in the very first week, I sold 36,000 copies in the first week.
That's a lot.
Because of what you're saying, because the marketing and the launch, and I had support to do that. And I remember that week when it became an international best-selling book. In number 2, number 1 was my book. Number 2 was Anthony Robbins' money book.
Yeah.
Number 3 was Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week. In that, So you're absolutely right. Without energy, without marketing, without selling the book, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Some people rely on their publisher to do that. Even that's not going to happen. They're going to rely on you to push it. So that's a great point. So when you say you have to treat your book as a business. So first of all, publish the book, treat it as a business. When you say it can be a door opener, where else can it take people? Once you have that book, yes, it can open doors, but how can you build a business around it? What can you do? What can you add? What can you utilize that book to create other avenues for?
I mean, let's look at the typical example. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was written by Stephen R. Covey. He's dead now.
Yes.
But that business, the business is still going on. His business is built on that book. That's a generational business, highly successful business.
And it's a great.
We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in that book.
That's it.
Look at John Maxwell, the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. That has spawned into a coaching business. He will never be poor another day of his life. Now he's certifying other people to become John Maxwell coaches. It was from one book.
Right.
Because that book is a business. It's a business. Because many people don't see it that way. That's the problem. From that one book, you can actually spin out a podcast from it based on the book. You can spin out a coaching business from it based on the book. You can spin out a curriculum for organizations to use based on the book. You can certify other people based on the book. Tim Ferriss is the one, I think, apart from Joe Rogan, that Spotify gave $100 million. Tim Ferriss probably has the second largest podcast in the world. What started his career was the 4-Hour Work Week.
Yes,
it was a book. It was a book. You get me? So and the good thing about the book is that you write once and you earn forever.
Absolutely.
You earn forever. So the upsides of having a book is unlimited. So it has unlimited upsides. Yeah.
Which is great. You've given great examples.
Yeah.
Great example. turn it into a curriculum, get hired as a speaker, do coaching programs, you can create your own membership sites.
Yes.
Spin it into a podcast. So many avenues.
Yeah.
I love that. For those people, for example, someone might say, but Paul, you don't understand. Mac, you don't understand. I'm only a financial advisor. I mean, why would I want to write a book? I'm only a housewife. Why would I want to write a book? I'm only this, I'm only that. What would you think about that?
Yes, I love what Theodore Roosevelt said. He said, every man is my teacher because they know one or two things that I don't know. So if you are a stay-at-home mom, there are tons of things you know about children that the average even entrepreneur doesn't even know. You don't need to be 100 steps ahead of people to teach them anything. It could just be that you are just a few steps ahead of them. I mean, think about it. You see some people, they've been a teacher for 40 years and then they retire. There's no book to their name. Nothing to encapsulate that experience of being a teacher for 40 years. So how do we make the world a better place?
Oh, yeah, you're right there.
So it's really why is the entrepreneurship industry in America is so good? Because if an American does something successfully, they will document it in a book. They will put it in a book, but the average African will not do that.
Right.
Even in the UK, it's just starting. They used to do that because that makes the world a better place. You know, like the South Africans, they call it Ubuntu. They say that I am because of you. Nelson Mandela said that when you live your dreams, you give other people the permission to live their own dreams as well. Yeah, so your book is a permission ticket to another person to say, you know what? If Mark can do it, selling 36,000 copies of his book in a week, you know, I think I can do it. I'm just going to understudy this guy. I've been a finance guy for 40 years or 20 years. I can turn my experience into a book so that the mistakes I made, the new finance guys will not make that kind of mistake.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's a good way. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And right now, what I want to do, Paul, and help me out with this. Someone decides, yes, okay, I understand what Paul is saying. The book is a door opener. Now, in relation to sales, how does it relate to sales in terms of the effectiveness in closing sales?
Okay, using the book to close sales?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very good. That's very interesting. So, because I used to live in Nigeria, then I moved to the UK. The guy that used to work with me, so just before I moved, he got another job. He's still working with freelance, and he went for a job interview. And the interview now boiled down to just two people, and they were both qualified. In fact, the other guy was more qualified than him. So this big company was saying to them that both of you are qualified, but why would we choose one person over the other? This is my staff now say, you know what, I've got a podcast. He said, I've got a podcast and I've recorded like 10 episodes of that podcast around sales and marketing.
Wow.
The organization is saying, can we see the podcast? They saw the podcast, they gave him the job.
Oh,
because he has demonstrated competence.
Of course.
Yes.
Good positioning.
Yes.
Good positioning.
Good. There's proof of work.
Yeah.
So sometimes you may just even, for right now, you don't even need to print the book. You can just write an ebook and just keep it if you don't want to feel like selling it.
Yeah. And you know the fascinating thing?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're saying that because we're thinking around the same line. You see, the fascinating thing is the positioning is that, hey, this person knows something.
Yeah.
The moment you have that book, you're now seen as the expert.
Yeah.
You're seen as the expert, and most people want to hire and deal and work with the expert, right?
That's right.
So in terms of the sales process now, in terms of the sales cycle, and your friend, your colleague, for example, who got that job, closed the deal, got that job because of positioning.
Yes.
I have an information system. It's a podcast.
Yes.
I've shown competence in this area.
Yes.
And the company's taking me rather than
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. It's very, very powerful. And you can use that For example, I worked with a lady in the UK. She's a coach in the UK. She's a mindset coach. She wanted to write a book. So she paid for a coaching service for me to work with her in her book. The book became an Amazon bestseller for 19 weeks.
Excellent.
So today she uses that in our profile, Amazon bestseller.
Right.
It's a door opener.
Yeah.
That's a door opener.
I see that.
Nobody can take that away from her. That's a door opener.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Yeah.
Do you have, Paul, as a sales expert, do you have a process that if somebody says, hey, look, I understand, Paul, I know I need to sell. Do you have 5 steps I should take, 4 steps I should take, 6 steps I can follow? So if I do A, B, C, D, E, G or something, I may become better. Is there a system or process I can follow?
Well, yes, there is a process for this because sales is a behavior.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a behavior and it's a habit. So we can train behavior. Yes, we can train a behavior to produce a specific result.
Okay.
So if we say the outcome of this is that you want to be able to make sales, the starting point is your thinking first, your mindset.
Mindset. Okay.
Yes. You must believe that you are not hurting people with your product. Like I talked about earlier, you are serving, you are helping people.
Got it.
You are helping people. Next, you must have certain critical beliefs. I call them your sales belief, your sales presupposition going forward. Because I'm an NLP practitioner. We have what they call NLP presuppositions.
Okay.
So you should have your own sales presuppositions before you even start. One of the critical presuppositions you must have in sales is that, number one, if you don't hunt, you don't eat. It's just a belief. Now, it may not be objectively true, but if you approach life like that, it changes everything for you.
Definitely.
The second presupposition you should have in sales is that in terms of communication, that if people don't understand you, it is never ever their fault. It's always your fault.
Right.
Now that may not even be objectively true, but what that does, it forces you to fine-tune your communication so that you are understood. So they're just presuppositions now because you're using to trick your brain. All right, good. After you've gotten the mindset, you got the mindset right. You need to when I get into the habits, their behaviors. A salesperson must be conscientious. You want to be successful in sales. I mean, before this podcast, me a link. I booked the time. We put it in the calendar. That's a conscientious person. Because Mark, a lot of times people lose sales not because they are not talented, but because they are not organized.
Of course, yeah.
They didn't return the calls. They didn't go for the meeting on time. They didn't send the email on time. So I always say all the time that be incredibly good at the things that require no talent.
Yes.
So you have to work on that first. So you do the mindset, you work on the self-mastery or self-organization. After we worked on that with the client, we now enter marketing. Because marketing and sales are not the same thing, but sales need marketing to work.
Right.
Marketing is the noise. Marketing is the attraction. Marketing is the visibility. Marketing is the awareness. Because if people don't know you, they don't buy from you.
That's right.
If you have never seen me before, I will never be on your podcast.
No.
So awareness is and that's where marketing comes. And a lot of salespeople, a lot of people, they are very shy about putting themselves out there because of their conditioning.
Yes.
They kept telling her, don't be proud, don't put yourself out there. All of those narratives are in their heads. So they shy away. And because they shy away, they'll see people who are not even as talented as them get the jobs. And they're like, come on, man, I can do it better than him.
There you go. Mr. Paul is dropping some noise. Dropping some nuggets. Go ahead.
So we work on their marketing and their marketing channels. Once we get the marketing channels right, that is the front end. Then we enter the sales process. So when the calls come now, or when you're in front of the client, what do you say? We enter questions. Because sales is not talking. When I talk to you, I'm giving information. That's not persuasive. When I ask you questions, I'm more persuasive to you. Oh, yeah, that's where the power is. So we teach them how to ask very powerful open-ended and close-ended questions. How to build rapport, both in writing and in person. And then we teach them how to handle the critical sales objections that will come up. Yes. All right. And how to handle those sales objections and turn them into money. So that's basically what the process is. But they must think long term. They must say, my average sales training is like 3 days, man. So
there you go. See, so I just wanted you just pointed out the fact that there is a process people can follow, and most people do not have a process to follow.
They don't.
Hit and miss. Yeah. They haven't taken the time to develop their sales mindset. Yeah, which is where you started from. Yeah. And they haven't taken time to really understand the marketing arena in terms of how am I going to create awareness? How am I going to create noise? How am I going to attract and the right people? And when they come, how am I going to build rapport? What questions am I going to ask? All so much so that they can make up their own mind without trying to force them.
That's right.
Something. So I love your process. Hey, Paul, for those who want to learn more from you, connect with you, what's the best and easiest way for them to do that?
So I'm very active on Instagram at Paul Fo. They can send me a DM and say I came from Mr. Max podcast at Paul Fo. I also have a podcast called the Paul Fo Podcast. That is, I'm serious about it as well. And my newsletter, I write every week. It's called the Fo Letters on Substack. So those are the three main ways if they want to reach out and to me. Yeah.
Excellent. That's good then. So hit Paul Fo up at Paul Fo podcast. Yeah. Also, you can get him on the Paul Fo.
Thank you.
At Paul Fo.
This has been a very, very great conversation. Very good. I loved it.
So, absolutely. So, Paul, I want to say thank you for jumping on here.
Yeah.
Thank you for adding so much value. Hey, guys, remember to like and also follow and share this podcast with your fellow entrepreneurs, business owners. And remember to subscribe. If you're not subscribed to this channel already, make sure you do that. And so we can bring you some more awesome people just like Paul Fo. Thank you for listening. And Paul, thank you. And we'll catch up very soon. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Appreciate it.